7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Interview with our Tiger coaches and just expert opinions. And so today we have Cody Gordon of Las Vegas, who is the director of Las Vegas. And then we also have a special guest that's coming in as well, which is Aaron Jaworski, who is the owner. So hopefully he's not overshadowing Cody a little bit on this one.
No, I'm just listening in here, guys. Just listening.
But I'm absolutely excited about this because we talked to Josh, which is one of Cody's coaches, and he was down there for the national program, national team in Fort Myers. Cody was the head coach, and what I want to do today is I really want to go over the national team because I know that there's a lot of aspiring baseball players out there who want to make the national team, and they want to hear updates on what's going on our end. Again, the 15U program, I kind of viewed it as a beta program where we were going down there. We wanted to get the best players, compete, and then see how everything went. And then we're going to try to expand it to multiple age groups. So without further ado, I want Cody to introduce himself to the Tiger families. So go ahead, give us your origin story, and then also give us your why behind why you're in the Tigers program.
Thanks, Spiker. Appreciate it. Cody Gordon, I'm the regional director, Las Vegas, Nevada. I started Rawlings Tigers about a year and a half ago. Before that, I was under the wing of Mike Bryant, Chris Bryant's dad at Team Adidas. And my big goal becoming with the Tigers was to create a network, a national network that was able to filter kids on a national scene. Because, with the local teams, it just seems like everybody's focused on local. Well, the best way to get these kids exposed is to be on a national scene. And, being with the Tigers, being with you guys is the number one way to do that.
Let's go into the national team. And I was talking to Josh about this just a little bit, but I want you to go deep dive because you were the head coach going down there. What was your initial thought heading into that event?
Man, I really didn't know what to think. You had all these different personalities, these, just kids you don't know, parents you don't know. We didn't really know the team, especially with this past year is, expect the unexpected with COVID. We didn't really get a full evaluation of the boys, but, I really didn't know what to expect. But after the weekend, I was very pleased. I felt like it was everything I could have expected more. Obviously, my goal was to win it. We wanted to win that tournament. And you could start to see that at the end of the tournament, us winning 12-0, throwing a no-hitter. You could start to see that we were getting used to each other. The coaches were understanding the players. But it was definitely a learning experience. It was definitely trial and error. It was a good time.
Was it hard to mesh different styles and get that group to be cohesive?
Yeah, for the first couple games, it was very difficult because, when you have a normal team, you get multiple practices to gauge personalities, to understand how they react to certain coaching styles. And you had to gauge that in 2 hours before the first game. And it was tough. Some of the coaches were more hands-on. For me personally, I'm more of a hands-on in practice, and I let them play in the games. So it was definitely challenging for me to try to change my coaching style and put an imprint on my knowledge to these kids right away. But like I said before, it was such a good learning experience, and it challenged me as a coach, and I'm sure the other coaches.
What was really impressive with how the coaches interacted with each other was your ability. You would talk about, okay, playing time. I've got to get this guy into the game, but we also need to win. And then you were sharing ideas instead of going in and being like just bulldozing, like this is what we're going to do, because obviously you're going to trust your abilities, right, as a coach. But what was really impressive was you had me, you had Tim, you had Tom, and then you had Josh, and you wanted different thoughts and different ideas because you had 16 guys that you needed to push forward on a 4-day schedule. And it was I just want to give you kudos on that because it is tough managing that amount of people. and being
Also,
able to
Absolutely.
the dynamic of the coaches too, right? Because
Yeah.
coaches never coached together before, like you said, and they had different styles and personalities along with the kids, and that's a whole nother dynamic to try to manage and coordinate would be the coaching staff. I would think so.
Absolutely. And I think the big thing for me when I was down there, and, my dad always told me, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, and try to take other knowledge and gain it so you can use it. You don't have to necessarily take it and use it, but take what you think, take what you know, and put it all together. And that's kind of what I was trying to do. We had Josh, obviously he was on the other day, great knowledgeable coach. Tim Jones, great coach. And then Tim's friend guy's got a ton of experience. I used all three of their knowledge and their opinions along with your opinion. And we were able to put together, I think, a pretty good formula to be successful, especially towards the end when we started to understand the players.
Cody, did you guys split up duties out there, like coaches meeting in advance, and how did that go? And certain guy took the pictures, other guys worked on team defense, or can you pull that out a little bit for everybody?
Yeah, we had Tim's a catching guy, so he was calling pitches with the catchers. Spiker, what's the other guy's name? I feel bad. I forgot it. Tom. I kept calling Tim.
It's all good. I'm horrible at names too, so I have to keep on repeating it in my head over and over and over again. But yeah, no worries about that.
Okay, so Tom was the guy. He was the pitching guy. Josh was working with the outfielders in the fielding positional wise. And I was just trying to sit back and manage the game and try to make the right moves at the right times.
And what was your biggest takeaway as a coach from the whole experience?
Man, honestly, as a coach, I feel like I was challenged, and it allowed me to become a better coach because I was allowed to take other guys' knowledge and use it. When I'm coaching my team here, it's usually just me coaching it. So I'm running, doing everything. I've got the reins. I'm doing everything, and here, I was able to learn how to share the knowledge with other coaches on the field. And I think it was awesome. It was a good time. It was a good learning experience.
What do you think the players took away from it?
The players, the players seem to be looking at us. These are 15s too. They're very, wary of other people when they're not, they don't know them. I think at the end, they started to really trust us at the end. Mm-hmm. And I think that they were put outside their comfort zone too. You could see they were nervous in the beginning. But then, after a while, they started to get comfortable with us and the level of play. And we were excelling.
You saw the talent down there. You experienced the talent that we had. What would you tell a player who wants to reach that national team level?
If you're looking to be a 15-year-old, you want to be able to hit an 88-mile-an-hour fastball. You got to be able to hit an 88-mile-an-hour fastball.
That's true.
You got to have to at least throw at least 80 miles an hour. Those have to be goals. As a player, you have to have goals to set. If you're just saying, I want to be on the national team, well, you got to do something about it. And it's going to take every day of training and being a part of a good organization like we have, from the ground up, and having the right trainers to guide them. But to keep it short, you got to be able to hit 88. And if you're pitching, you got to be able to throw at least, high to low 80s at a 15-year level.
I think that was probably the most eye-opening thing for me. Was I knew that the talent was there from a standpoint of like a 15-year-old hitting 88 to 90 is not unheard of anymore. Like it's now becoming like that's like the elite of the elite, right?
Absolutely.
But a freshman coming in and throwing 80, you're a top end player, and then you go into that event, you become average, which is crazy to me. Which is like, at that event, if you're
not average.
Yeah, if you're throwing 80 at your own local level, you're a high end athlete, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you go into a national event like the one that we went to, you're going to be only throwing. You're only going to be the average of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like which I think is absolutely mind-boggling. But again, that we're engineering athletes. Fitz said it on our podcast with me and Dave. He's like, it's becoming that situation where we're now engineering athletes and they're becoming better faster. And it's only going to get faster.
Absolutely. Back in the day when we played sports, we were all multi-sport athletes. Nowadays it seems like everybody's specifically geared towards a sport, and then it's a science now. Back then in the day, I was eating cookies and eating Ruffles for lunch when I was a senior in high school. And I was fortunate enough to still throw high 80s from the left side in high school. I'm like thinking, man, if I would have just had the guidance and the knowledge and everything that you guys are doing back then, who knows where I'd be.
I think it's just the culmination of the internet, and then also the maturity of youth sports, amateur sports.
Yep.
I think it's that combination of the two.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your best advice for a coach who wants to coach a national team? You can take this multiple routes, but what's your initial thought on that? Because we've talked about the player, but I want to know a little bit, because I know there's some coaches out there that would be like, hey, I would love to coach that national team. What would be your suggestion?
I mean, kind of what we were talking about, bring in other coaches that have a lot of knowledge, and it'll take a lot off your plate so that you're allowed to just make game moves. I felt like I was fortunate enough to have coaches who had a ton of knowledge, who were able to communicate with the players and give them insight mid-game. And then I was able to make those game decisions. So, my advice would be, don't try to do it all if you're going to do this, because it's difficult to, when we played, I had to manage 16 players and make sure, players are getting their playing time while being successful. And that's a full-time job. You can't be jack of all trades out there.
Yeah, because you have to know the personalities too, and we talked about it at the tail end. It's like, man, I wish I would have known a little bit more about this player. We need to find another way to where we could get introduced earlier and and again, that's what happens with a first run of a national team. You start realizing, oh, we could do this better, we could do that better. I think that was a huge point that you made, which is, I would love to get a WebEx with everyone and we start talking with them and getting to know each player, have them in the social chats as well. And that's what I found crazy to me, is that the players didn't follow each other on social media, where with us in St. Louis, that's the first thing that the guys have been doing in high school, is once they know their team, they start following each other on social media. So I think from a progressive standpoint for us, we got to make sure that, hey, follow each other on social media. If you have Instagram, if you have Snapchat, make sure you follow each other and get to know each other, because then it'll be a lot faster when we get down there.
Absolutely. You remember I told the kids the first day, I said, hey, go get each other's numbers, start texting, start talking, go hang out, go meet up for lunch. Because we plan to do this again, and hopefully most of that team will come back.
Cody, what do you think about the future of that program? Because with the Tigers, I view the national team as a program, right? We have our regional program, different cities, but you're into showcases and camps and different events. But this is, I think, like a standalone Tiger branded program for the long term, and it's unique. The way we have this thing set up. There's very few clubs around the country that can orchestrate it the way that we are setting this up, where it's Tigers only. You have to be on a Tiger team in order to make the Tiger national team.
Absolutely.
So my thoughts on this real quick is, I think it's going to evolve in a really good way, because if you look at the depth of our teams around the country, we are really strong and deep with 11s, 12s, 13s, and 14s. We get a lot of teams coming on board at those age groups because of the resources we have in place for the high school program and those kids, because we have player profiles, a recruiting Twitter handle, and we have our national teams at the high school level, right? So when those kids mature up and they're 15 in a year or two, or 16, I mean, there's going to be some serious talent, I think, on these teams, and the slots are going to be harder to make. It's going to be part of it. You look at Houston, Spiker, with Steve DeLuke. Mm-hmm. He's killing it. I mean, his teams they're all high end, high AAA, high major type teams in a hotbed market in Houston. and they're all, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, they're going to be in high school in a few years, right? It's coming, and they're going to have a huge impact on these national team rosters. So I can see it kind of from the top looking at the different cities where it could really take off and be something totally special and cool in my eyes for all these kids and athletes in our program.
I think from a starting point too, like going down to perfect game and going 2-2 in a pool of death that we were in. Like, I mean, the squads that we played, they were really good. Like,
Yeah,
and
they were great. Like,
yeah, and there's some backing there. There's a lot of history behind those teams, right? So, and example, like the first team that we played was Rafael Furcal's team, and they rolled out the number 2 and number 4 pitcher in Florida. So, like, that in itself, we're going up against, that's our first game, and those boys competed, and we were in that game all the way until the very end. And then they started realizing, we're competing. And that's a huge, huge statement for those guys, because I can only imagine when they go back to their teams that they have a level of confidence that is going to be a lot different, and they're going to say, hey, we can attack any team that we want to. This is how we're approaching it. And it's creating a leadership style for those players, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Spiker, I really think that if this team that went down there played in June, I think we go 4-0. Some of those kids came up to me like, Coach, I haven't seen pitching in 4 months. I'm like, hey, sorry, bud, you're going to have to go face mid to high 80s with nasty curveballs and nasty off speed. Good luck, But you could see the last game they were really starting to get used to that competition again, and obviously we saw the result, winning 12-0
Which I think is a big recommendation for those players. Like,
absolutely,
if you're playing, because again, our national program is off season, it's off peak season. So if you end up making the squad, you've got to try to figure out, how do I catch up to that timing? How am I going to be game ready for live pitching? Because the pitchers already have the advantage. They have the control. They have the ball. So they can do whatever they want. So if you throw 83, 84, you have a distinct advantage over that hitter. Now, if you face a Florida team, or you face a Texas team, or you face a team that is in the southern area of the United States, understand that those hitters are ready for you, and you gotta be ready to battle, which I found super interesting.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit Las Vegas. Let's get off the national scene. Let's talk about what's happening in your territory. I find it always extremely intriguing when hearing guys from different parts of the area. That's why I love being a part of the Tigers, because you're getting different ideas and different thoughts. What are you working now with your coaches and players that you're absolutely 100% excited about? It could be just program wide in your area. What gets your juices flowing?
Well, first of all, with the whole approach with the Tigers in Las Vegas, I wanted to create a system, and the system is have the best coaching in town. If you have the best coaching, the best players will follow, usually. So I really do pride myself in the Tigers here in Las Vegas on having the best coaches. And with that, we're able to have some programs. We have Pitch Club, and this is just accessible to the Tigers. We have Pitch Club where we have group pitching. Myself and some other professional college pitchers are able to run that. And we're able to specify our Tiger boys and develop them in a organizational wide. We also have Catch Club, same thing. Bryce Massonary, he's a coach in the Tigers, ex-Georgia catcher, All-American, played in the College World Series when they played Fresno State. Played with Russell Wilson and the Rockies. I mean, the guy's knowledge is, it's unbelievable. We have Hit Club, where it's the same thing. Like I said, group hitting. We're specifying our Tiger boys and their development. We're able to work with Game Changers Academy. We've talked about that. They're trying to become the IMG of the West over here. Their stuff is great. We got our training over there. So that's just all those programs that we have that are added on to what we're doing with our teams in the Tigers. It's really, you're seeing the development happen in a rapid pace.
What have you taken from the national team and then you're bringing back to Vegas? Like, it could be knowledge base or experience base. Like, what is it that you've noticed that, like, you need to get your guys prepared for?
Honestly, for me, I've just been trying to get these boys excited for the possibility of being on it more than anything. I've talked to you guys about when we wanted to start this, why do kids play Little League? They play Little League for the small chance of playing in the Little League World Series. That small chance, and because they want to play on that national stage. And that's what we want to create here at the Tigers. And, we want to have it to where if you do make that national team, you will be a college baseball player. Like the very best will be on that team and you will play college baseball. And that's the goal. And that's what I'm trying to excite my players with. So that's kind of what I'm taking back is, hey guys, like what we talked about, if you want to be on the national team, you're going to have to be able to hit 88. You're going to have to be able to throw in the 8. And I get them, getting them excited to be able to play on that stage.
I think that's a good point because that promotes competitiveness, which is what you need outside of baseball as well. And start that off at an early age is like, let's compete. Let's try to figure this thing out and try to reach for the stars, try to reach that national team. And hey, if you do, great. You're representing a great brand and you're representing yourself in a huge event. If you don't, that's okay. Keep working at it. And at some point you're going to reach to the place that you want to reach to. Because if you shoot for the stars, you're gonna be there, right? So I think that's a really good point, and it's super important to really promote that competitiveness at an early age. After being with the coaches with the different territories, what has been the biggest eye opener on the different styles of baseball?
Yeah, that's a tough question, but I would just say the biggest eye opener is that there's many different styles. I always took my style and was like, this is my style. I'm going to stay to my style. But I realized that, you have to vary your styles based on who you're coaching. The kids you're coaching, kids take different styles in different ways, and you have to understand which styles work best for that kid. I saw kids, Tom and Josh, very hands-on coaches. I saw some kids take that in and use that very well. And I saw some kids resist a little bit to it. So the biggest thing is to understand that you need to have different styles to be the best coach possible. And I felt like that's why we were successful so quick in just a matter of 4 games. We were able to turn it around is because we had 4 or 5 different styles in the dugout at one time and we were all utilizing it.
How would you label your style? Like, how would you describe your style?
I'm more like I talked about a little bit earlier. I'm more hands-on in practice, and I love practices to be more intense than the game. And in the game, I let them play. And if I see something, I'll calmly come up to them and be like, "Hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I feel like you should do to be more successful." So when it comes to the game, and intense in practice.
Gotcha. Aaron, how are you? What would you label your style as?
I like what Cody just said. Like I think practice, they need to be really driven hard, and that's where everything happens. But then in the game, I think it's more back off and let them do their thing. I don't think they need added pressure in a game. I think there's already enough pressure in that game setting to compete. And I'm a big practice guy in that regard. So also I think I'm prepared as a coach, like lineups, equipment, pregame, just very systematic and how that all rolls out, just like we are with business and the club, Spike. It's like it's a program and there's a path to follow, and I'm a creature of habit, and be prepared. You got to be prepared in advance for everything. So I think it goes into coaching as well.
And how do you manage, Aaron, how do you manage the coaches that you've had? Because it's your dugout's pretty similar to what the national team was. You were more of the manager than anything else. You weren't really I wouldn't say like head coach. It was more like you were having more of a managing style than anything else. Yeah,
I mean, I know with me, I like to have assistants in place where everyone has a job and a duty. And I kind of want to be there to help and support all of them. I don't need to be the guy out there, right, trying to run everything. And if everyone's got a job and a duty from the game changer guy to the third base to the first base, who's calling pitches, who's on defense, who's our cheerleader when needed between innings, and I'll jump in and help. So My name's on our team, our 14U team here in St. Louis, but it's my team. I'm the head coach, but I feel like it's all the other coaches that are really making it happen, and I'm just keeping that train on the rails.
Cody, what's the biggest challenge that you guys are facing right now in the Vegas territory, as a coach as well as a director? Like, what is it that you guys are trying to accomplish and try to make sure that you're able to overcome that challenge?
I think the big thing we're trying to accomplish is to have that elite level team at each level while having that developmental team at each level. And I feel like that allows, we create a competitive environment here for the Tigers for that national scene that we're trying to create, but we're also have a developmental environment, with the orange and white teams. I think the hardest thing to do is to get people to buy in on being an orange player. And it's okay to be an orange player at a young age, because everybody develops at a different pace. I've seen kids where they were just absolute studs at 12, 11, and they stopped. Their development stopped, whether it was because of size or effort. Trying to get people to buy into, you don't have to be a black player to be a good player, or a player that will have a chance to play at a high level.
That's what I think is like the biggest misconception inside of youth sports, is that it becomes more of a status thing than anything else, and less of a development thing. And you can get caught up into it. I mean, hell, I get caught up into status things quite often, right? But when it comes to development, I feel like that's undervalued. And being able to realize, like, okay, hey, I'm going to go to the place where I feel most loved. I'm going to go to the place that I know have the best coaches, which goes back to your point. You're trying to create in your area the best coaches that you possibly can, because you have this philosophy or this thought that the players are going to come, and build the coaching staff, players will come, which I think is a beautiful idea. And I'm hoping that players see that and they say, hey, I want to be coached by that guy. Like, that guy is absolutely creating unbelievable players. And it doesn't have to be the experience by any means. It could be a guy that, like Aaron, we had a guy that didn't even play college baseball. He was only there for a semester, but he was probably one of the best developers that I've ever been around. And he was coaching pro guys. He was in here the other day, and we were talking
MLB guys.
MLB guys, not just pros, MLB guys. He was helping the former closer of the Cardinals. Like,
and he played a half semester at JUCO.
That's awesome.
It was just
exactly, and
he's the ultimate teacher. So
I feel like coaching is an art in itself. I've seen great ex-players, MLB players. They're not the best coaches at times, not always, but I see a lot of times the best coaches are the ones that had to grind to be good at this game, and they had to understand the game before they could be good.
Oh, without a doubt. Like, here's a personal example for me, is that when I coach, I'm horrible at coaching outfielders. I don't think I'm very good at it, because I naturally was good at the outfield, but infield wise, I know infield backwards and forwards because I sucked at infield. I wasn't very good. And that's why they sent me to the outfield. But I had a huge passion for being a shortstop or being a second baseman. And I was lucky to play a couple of seasons there. But at the end of the day, I wasn't the best dude out there. I wasn't the best choice. But I had coaches that worked with me, and I engulfed everything because I was trying to figure out how to get better at it. And I think from a hitting standpoint, I was a switch hitter, and I had to try to figure out my left side. So I had to relearn everything. And that's why I think I'm able to communicate that side of it. And one of our instructors here in St. Louis, he's really good at teaching mechanics because he had to relearn how to hit in college. He already hit a whole bunch of home runs, but when he started enhancing his mechanics, that's when his career took off. And he had to relearn everything. That's why he's so good at teaching mechanics. So I think whatever a coach is, what he struggled with when he was playing, he's really good at teaching. Just my humble opinion.
Good point.
Absolutely,
guys. I think from here, this is a great ending point. And obviously, Cody, thanks for jumping in on this WebEx. I know you're super busy and building that territory up. Aaron jumped on and hijacked this WebEx, and I always appreciate him coming on.
I do want to say one thing, Spike.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Cody because him and another director of ours, it was DJ in Louisville, right? Like those two were pushing the national program for several months. And I feel like they were at the front end of it with us to kind of make it all happen. So Cody, I really appreciate, you and your ideas and your thoughts behind it. Because I do think this thing is going to go to great heights. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Absolutely. I believe in what you guys are doing. I have since day one, and I'm all in, man.
Cody, any closing thoughts on this conversation?
Just to all the players out there, no matter what level you're at, black, orange, white, whatever age you're at, keep working hard. Like I talked about, have guidance, have good guidance in your life, have good coaches to guide you to where you want to be. Because, your goal, the epitome of the Tigers is the national team. That's where you want to be. And, keep working.
Guys, I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.